So where do I actually find the money to apply more towards my debt? My name is Gaby Rincon. I'm a money coach and financial strategist. I specialize in working with the first-gen BIPOC community and empower them to live money stress-free. Welcome back to our series for the month, Debt-Free Dreams, where we're talking about both sides of the equation. Like, where can we tweak in order to intentionally pay off debt? So, ni que se diga, obviously, we're gonna not be swiping our credit cards or adding to our debt anymore, right? So it's like, boom, our balances are now frozen, with the exception of interest, I understand. But the thing is that no matter what strategy we use, we want to actively be paying down our debt, meaning that we are intentionally paying more than the minimum, even if it's just $5, $10, $20 extra a month. Because what we're after here is that mindset and habit change. We are looking for you to see yourself as somebody who is actively getting out of debt, who intentionally prioritizes that, who intentionally prioritizes their financial security, and who values that very, very seriously. That mindset shift leads to those little micro actions, right? The extra $5, $10, $15 extra, and those compound on themselves until you actually are looking to build that bigger habit. So in other words, we can't necessarily start with applying an extra $200 extra a month if we're not used to doing that. It's like, it's too drastic of a change. But going from the minimum payment to the minimum plus $25, we can absolutely do that. And starting from that really leads to sustainability. But okay, where do we find those extra X amount of dollars? Depending on your situation, you will either choose to increase your income or decrease your expenses. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Some of my clients have decided to increase their income by working some extra overtime, taking on a side gig, driving for Uber Eats. They've also started dog walking, and even some of them started just actively selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, just from their home. And a really important part that I highlight when working with them is that we find the amount that they can kind of take on additionally during this time period that's not going to burn them out. I by no means want them to subscribe to toxic work hustle culture. We're not gonna monetize every single thing that we do because by now I'm huge on sustainability. So what is that amount okay, if we're down to increase our income by working a little bit more, what is that amount that we can do without feeling exhausted? That feels like we can repeat at least during the 6 to 18 months that we're actively on this debt freedom journey. And maybe it goes without saying, but we do those check-ins. So if we're meeting once a month, we kind of might change that a little bit depending on what else is going on in their lives. And if you decide to, instead of increasing your income, to decrease your expenses, right? Oftentimes it's gonna be your discretionary expenses or bigger type expenses instead of, living by myself, I decided to move in with a roommate. I'm saving a couple $100s on rent, for example. Or maybe instead of, paying $250 a month for a gym membership, we're gonna go ahead and do another one that's only $125. Again, giving you examples of decreasing your expenses that you can do without it feeling too much, because again, we're after the sustainability piece. And what I see happen most often is that we actually do a little bit of both. So we increase our income a little bit, that's sustainable amount, and we're also decreasing our expenses at least a little bit in the interim while we're actually paying this debt off. And I think the coolest part about this kind of journey that I've seen with every single one of my clients is that even though initially, right, we're only looking at an extra $25, $50 a month towards some debt, right? It's seemingly small, and yeah, they've done it from both sides of the equation. 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, they're making additional hundreds of dollars of payments to their debts. They're actively doing this, it just really snowballed. And yeah, we're still doing the check-ins of are you working too much? Are we good? We're still enjoying, are you still spending on yourself? One of my clients wants to buy an espresso right now, for example. These things are important, but again, the mindset shift, the micro action, the habit, it builds, it compounds on itself. And so all of a sudden, in a year, you've paid off a significant amount of your debt, maybe even all of it. So while you're on this journey, think about, am I gonna increase my income or am I gonna decrease my expenses? Maybe a little bit of both. And just because you're starting small does not mean that you're not gonna be successful, because we all have to start somewhere, and starting small is the most sustainable part. As always, for an in-depth look at your financial situation and creating a debt payoff plan that will work for you, please book a consultation. I'd love to work with you.